About 2 minutes. 2 minutes. About a minute. Stand by. All right. And 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and go.
Good evening and welcome to the Wednesday, June 29th, 2016 meeting of the Long Meadow School Committee. I would like to call the meeting to order. This meeting is being recorded for LCTV, being aired live and also live streamed through longmeadow.org, and this meeting was posted as required by open meeting law. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So Superintendent O'Shea will be joining our meeting at some point this evening. He was a little delayed, but he will be joining us. I am going to make a small change to our agenda. Tom Landers is here from the high school and would like to talk about the LEAF grant, correct?
Correct.
Thank you, Mr. Landers.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I am here tonight to ask for school committee approval on a LEAF grant that was recently awarded to Shelley Warren, substance abuse counselor and our peer leadership teacher at the high school, and Rita Hawker on behalf of the PE and Health Department. Rita Hawker is our department chair. They were recently granted a grant by LEAF, and it would require us to add something permanently to the grounds of the high school down on the corner of Grassy Gutter and Williams, and it is, as the LEAF grant that you have in front of you explains, it's part of our PE curriculum. It is involved in our team building, our trust building. It's part of our anti-bullying curriculum, but anytime we affect the grounds, we have to come in front of you and ask for your permission. So there are a couple aspects to it. There's a picture that's going around to that details it for you, but really it's the track walk, and that is the only part that physically goes into the ground. So that is the part that we have to inform you and ask for your permission, and I, on behalf of Rita Hawker and Shelley Warren, I'm here for that purpose tonight.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah, if we could pass that down, would be great. Russ.
So, do we also need to go to the town to talk to them about changing the grounds? Because I remember with the football shed, we had to get approval by the town. I'm not sure if this is the same issue or not as major.
My understanding is that I have to only come to you. It's my understanding.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the town had a concern about the shed because of the maintenance that was going to be associated with the upkeep.
Okay.
Whereas this is planks, if I understand it correctly, with some footings in the ground.
Correct.
So there's no maintenance associated to it that the town will be responsible for.
So we just notify the town
Yep.
that we're doing it?
Yep.
Okay.
That's if assuming school committee accepts the donation.
Okay.
Does anyone want to make the motion for the LEAF grant?
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Oh, so is that going to stay there permanently, like throughout the year? Are you going to, is there a concern, like, because it looks kind of fun? Are other kids going to jump on board of that? Is there any?
Well, the aspect that would stay there would be the trail walk, and it's about 18 inches or so off the ground. So it's not dangerous. That would stay there. And the rest of the equipment would be brought back and forth by the PE classes, the students, et cetera, when they were using that.
Make a motion to,
It's in the
I
agenda.
don't know, I don't have it with me. Thank you. I move on the recommendation of the superintendent that the school committee accept with genuine appreciation the LEAF grant to install the High Five Adventure PE equipment at Long Meadow High School.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in, any discussion?
I'd just like to say thank you very much to Leaf. So,
Yeah.
Yes.
They're great.
Thank you very much.
Continues to be very generous to all the schools, Long Meadow High School in particular.
Yes, LEAF is an incredible resource, and they work really hard for our schools. Very grateful. Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thanks so much. And I can come back, I know I come back later in the year and give updates, and we'll definitely give an update on this effort. Thanks so much.
Excellent, thank you. Thanks, Tom. Okay, so we just need 1 minute to get 2 members who will be participating remotely,
Hi, Michelle, can you hear us?
Michelle Grodzki and Michael Clark. So excuse us for 1 minute while we do that. Okay, I'm going to make a little change to the agenda again here. We have a discussion about our meeting schedule, which is under E for the
Hello.
Hi, Michael. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, everybody. Hi.
Okay, so we're going to be having a brief school committee discussion now about the meeting schedule for the 2016-2017 school year. And the current proposal on the table is to hold the meetings on the second and fourth Wednesday of each month, beginning at 6 p.m. And I put this on the agenda because I thought it was something that's important to consider in terms of what day we meet as a committee. My experience on the committee has been that there's a lot of preparation work for meetings, especially for the school committee, and a lot of research, a lot of legwork that goes into preparing for them. And I find that when meetings fall on Mondays, it can often monopolize the weekend when we would like to be spending time with our kids and our family. And so it also makes it more difficult for people with children to make it on Monday nights. Monday is usually a pretty hectic evening. I think a lot of people understand and know that, school committee, only a very small fraction of what we do is seen on cameras and in the meeting portion of it, because we're always working really hard behind the scenes to get as much research and information as we can to make the best decisions that we can for the town and for the schools. And so having a Wednesday meeting allows some breathing room for us to spend time during the work week to prepare for the meeting. So it's not being front-loaded on a Sunday and a Monday, and then lots and lots of phone calls being made on a Monday. So that's just one issue that I wanted to raise about that. Liz?
Our committee has our LPVC meetings on Wednesdays
Yep.
night, so that would be a conflict.
Okay. Diane, do you know, I know I have the calendar, how many, or Liz, do you know how many meetings? Is that once a month?
Once a month, but sometimes it has to be twice, or sometimes it gets moved around.
The calendar's in your packets, but
Yeah, I think that
So we could possibly work around that.
I think that when I looked at the calendar, Diane and I did speak about that. that those meetings were
Thank you.
not affected potentially by the schedule, given the weeks that we've identified that the meetings would fall on. So it wouldn't change the week, it would still be the same. But I wonder if we could, do we have the schedule for their meetings yet?
Yeah,
Is it on, oh, it's on this calendar? Oh, okay.
it's actually,
Oh, okay.
it's a later closure.
think I
Let's see.
So, we attend those meetings once a month, correct? And we have 2 members who attend that meeting?
There's actually 2 meetings.
Two.
There's one for the Board of Directors and then one for the Board of Governors.
Okay.
And we
I don't
had
think
one
both
member
of
going
those are
each.
on here.
Right.
I think only the Board of Directors, is that the one? that's
I'm on the Board of Directors. Yep.
Yeah, that's the monthly one. That's on this calendar. The Board of Governors, I don't believe is on here.
And that's the one that Fitz was going to.
Mhm.
Do you know how often that happens?
I do not.
Usually it would be the same day or, not usually, actually. I'm not sure. They had a hard time this year getting everyone to meet, so I'm not sure when it was. Sometimes it was before our meeting, sometimes I never saw him, so I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, does anyone else want to speak? I'm just looking through the calendar. Does anyone else want to talk about scheduling?
I will.
Michael?
Hi.
Hi, thanks
you know,
thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no, happy to. And, obviously I think at this point the committee has seen the email that I sent and had entered as correspondence prior to the meeting. But my work schedule and the way in which the Senate operates means that I'm in Boston just about every single Wednesday most of the year. Obviously, we're winding down for the summer, but we'll be back up and running, starting probably, I don't know, but just about every single Wednesday. And, obviously my schedule is not my own. I have to go where my boss goes and when he goes. And so to be able to make a meeting at 6 o'clock on a Wednesday means essentially that I will never be able to attend a school committee meeting. And so that, in my opinion, is unfair to me and my obligations to the board. And, when I was elected, I was, told that these meetings would be on Mondays. And so for me to not be able to represent the people, that I represent and the members of the community in Long Meadow, essentially means that, I really have no role on the board. And that's not really fair, in my opinion. And I can certainly appreciate all of the things and reasons that you outlined, Madam Chair, for wanting to schedule meetings on different days. But, we all have different obligations. We all have different things that we do on weekends. And, we've seemingly made it work as well. And so, I'm amenable to looking at Tuesdays. I'm amenable to, looking at 6 o'clock on Mondays. But Wednesdays and Thursdays are days that I physically am not in Long Meadow and will be not able to attend meetings. And that's, that's not something that I have any control over, anything I can move.
Russ?
So I'm not sure we'd want to do a different day of the week throughout the year, but Michael, is there, when would you start up again in the fall?
Probably right after the November election. So there would be maybe 4 meetings that I could attend in the fall is what it's looking like.
Okay. And then from November really through the end of the school year, the rest of that time, you'd really have a hard time with Wednesday, Thursdays.
Hopefully, as long as everything goes well in November, it'll be really hard for me to make it.
Okay. I was just trying to figure out if there's a way to maybe do some of both, but that might not be possible. I don't know.
Yeah, listen, there's days where I'm back by 5, but that's very rare. And it really depends on just kind of what's going on out here. Most of the time I don't get back until well after 6 or 7. And then, obviously I could come late, but how does that benefit anybody if I'm not there for any discussion?
Jess, hi. I have a thought or two.
Okay, Michelle and then Sue?
Oh, I can wait for Sue if you want.
Okay, Sue.
Can't see hands.
Yeah, sorry, Michelle.
It's okay, Michelle.
That's
Raise
okay.
your hand next time, please.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jiggle the phone. So I have a conflict at present every other weekend, every other Wednesday, I'm sorry. I'm responsible for my sister. She's got special needs, so that's to move around that schedule is going to be a challenge. I'll have to get other people to come in and change their schedules. So it's not always the second and fourth. Sometimes it's the first and third, depending, because it's every other for me. So it's this Wednesday, not next Wednesday. Do you know what I'm saying?
So
So
it'll go
there
off.
will be some months it will be okay, and some months it will be off. So I don't know if you had a schedule kind of drafted
I
out
haven't
at all.
drafted the schedule
Okay.
with Wednesdays, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
so
this-
I would do the best I could, but that would be a challenge.
Does everybody have this schedule in their packet as well?
Yep.
So it would be this schedule, but it would just be the Wednesday
very
of
next
the
Wednesday.
week. Yeah.
Okay. I usually don't print my packets up.
You can look at this also if you'd like to.
Yeah, that'd be
Okay.
great.
Pass it. Michelle?
I have 2 extra printed.
Okay, so a couple questions. Michael, would you be able to call in? You know, I'm assuming you're leaving Boston sometime in the late afternoon. Would you be able to call in until you got to the meeting? I guess
Typically, no.
that was an idea that
I
had.
wouldn't be able to.
There's extras in here.
Okay.
Yep.
And I guess the other thought would be, you know, as another thought, if we moved it to 7, would that allow you more time to get home? I mean, what time do sessions usually get out?
You know, I mean, again, it's not consistent in terms of the end of the day. So sometimes we end the day at 4, and then I'm back for 6:30 with traffic, and some days we don't get out of here until 6:37, and I'm not back till 9. So, I can't say one way or the other, but I would say as a general rule, I'm just not available on Wednesdays. It's just not something that I'm able to do.
Okay, so that one's that idea. I guess my thoughts would be, when Jess was speaking, I agree with all of what you said. I think it's hard to have meetings on a Monday for me as a school committee member, but I also have heard from many people and many parents that it's a tough night for them to attend, and I know that a lot of people would prefer to come, but they just can't make Monday night work because that's just a tough night during the week as you're getting out of the weekend and getting your kids back into the swing of things at school. So, if we can figure out a way, I think it's a great idea to try to move them from the Monday at 7. Maybe it takes some meeting of the minds to see if we can make this work for all the different conflicts and whatever, but I think it's a great idea to move it if we can.
Stephanie, did you want to say anything?
No, I'm just kind of hearing everything. I mean, 6 o'clock is tough for me in general because of sports and getting out, but I think I can make it work. Wednesdays would work for me. 6 is tough, but I think I can manage it, see how it goes at least the first year, but sports tend to not get out till later, so I don't know if that's I enjoy the thought of starting earlier and getting done earlier, but as far as parents getting here too, 6 o'clock is tough. That's like that crossover time. So, my conflict is more with the 6, but I could make it work.
Okay, thank you. Russ?
So I was thinking, well, one reason I really haven't been a fan of the Mondays is because sometimes we get our packets on Thursday night. And it's not a problem as long as the agenda is just things that are easily read. But sometimes we get reports and things that, let's say you get a 30-page report on a Thursday night. That means you're going to be doing that over the weekend for Monday. So I think if we get some of that information earlier, which is not always possible, obviously, but if we did, that would make it a little easier. As far as the time, though, we also sometimes have the student groups come in at like half an hour earlier. So if we do 6, we'd have to think about that too, because that means they're coming at 5:30. So maybe, I don't know, 6:30 might be better?
I was just thinking 6:30 might be better for some of the reasons Stephanie was outlining and that point. Yeah. Liz,
I just
are you
wanted
all
to
set?
say,
Yep.
Okay.
sorry,
Liz.
there are 5 meetings out for the board of directors
Okay.
that have a conflict. So that's a lot.
Okay. Okay, so does anybody have anything else to say about this issue? And if not, I think we'll just sort of wrap this up and I'll think about everything and get back to you about the scheduling issue as soon as possible. Anyone else? Tom, you don't have any conflicts?
Not that I know of as of yet, but
Okay.
it's hard to, plan knowing what sports schedules will be. Won't know that until, early fall.
Okay.
So, but I'll work around it as best I can.
Okay.
So the time is also potentially an issue for you?
No time is ever really good, but,
If you could promise
so.
to end an hour early, I think it's okay.
Yeah, to Stephanie's point, if we're starting earlier, doesn't mean we're going to end earlier. Hopefully, it doesn't mean we're going to start at 6 and go to 11 still, but
Well, that's the goal, is to have an earlier meeting that's consolidated as much as possible so that we are being as efficient as possible and we're using our time as wisely as possible. So we're not here till late hours. It's especially difficult in the winter when it's freezing cold out and it's really late and everybody's exhausted. So we all want to be here when we're fresh and when, we can think. And I think beyond a certain hour of the night, especially over the winter, that can become a challenge. So even though it seems a little bit easier now, I want to think big picture also for the whole school year. Russ?
So we also, I guess Tuesday, if we got the agendas still on Thursday night, that would be another potential. I don't know, is that difficult to do that, though?
It all depends on if people give me the documents I need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm at everybody else's disposal, so I'm trying to get a packet together, and it's only a matter of who gives me what I need to get the packet done.
So, from what I'm hearing from everyone, I'm thinking that a Tuesday meeting could work. LCTV is watching, and I know I need to talk to LCTV, and I will do that. But Tuesday sounds like a good possibility, and I'm getting the sense that 6:30 might be more ideal than 6. But again, I really want to be mindful of that. We will, especially during that early budget season, January, February, March, we will be having more comprehensive meetings. And I do really want to be mindful about those late night hours
For me, that half hour that you would gain on a Tuesday now, if we move it to a Tuesday at 6:30, a half hour there versus 7, it's almost, is it worth it for a half hour? Are we going to gain that much on the other end? I don't know. And that will be tough because I do know my sports schedule from September to April. So,
Michael.
If I can add to that, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Stephanie. It's like, I'm comfortable with Tuesdays. Those typically work better for me. And I certainly hear exactly what Stephanie's saying about that transition time. I think if we're going to have, like an MCAS report or a budget, we can probably take that sort of one meeting at a time and adjust as necessary. So if it is going to be a meeting where there's a lot of heavy loading, loaded agenda, then maybe we do collectively agree this is going to be the one that we need at 6. And
That's a really good
that
idea.
extra hour.
Yeah, that's a good idea. As long as LCTV's okay with being flexible.
Yeah, and if they've got notice, I don't want to speak for them, they're in the other room, but
We're
if
good.
they've gotten notice, thanks, Brian. So, yeah.
Have you talked to Marty about what he's available for?
Marty is flexible, and he did say that Wednesdays were okay for him, but he will be here later, so we can talk to him. Maybe we can depart briefly from the agenda at some point later and touch base with him on that.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Does anybody else have anything to say about Tuesday evenings before we move on? Okay, so again, Liz, did you have?
It's hard to figure out, when you've had something for the past 4 years, you know what your schedule is going to be. But to now just say Tuesday, I'll have to go look.
Yeah. Okay, and we can also, I'm going to have to speak to LCTV and talk to Diane about a few scheduling issues as well. So I'll get back to everybody on that. And I appreciate everybody's feedback. And I appreciate you calling in, Michael. I know it wasn't easy for you to do that tonight.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be heard on that, so thank you.
Yeah, well, we want you to be able to participate, so I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Are you staying for the remainder, or are you signing off?
I'm probably going to sign off because we're going back in right now.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
All right, thanks, everybody.
Thanks so much,
Thank you.
Michael. Okay. So let's move on to reports. Oh, excuse me. So we have no school presentations this evening. Correspondence, we do not have any.
You know, Michael's will be recorded.
Michael's
at
will
the
be
next meeting.
Right, for the
Because
next
he
meeting.
came in today.
Okay. Visitor comments. Anybody? Anybody? Okay. School committee comments. And we have no
Can
old.
I ask something?
Yes, you may.
That's not on the agenda, but kind of, is Jean Fontaine going to be attending our meetings? Do we know?
Attending school committee meetings? Not typically.
Okay. Because I know
Unless
it was
there's a
brought
specific
up
issue.
at, previously, I didn't know what the decision had been made or.
Russ?
I know we had some brief conversation about it, but I don't think we ever decided.
Right.
She would definitely be here when we have topics that deal with special ed, but I think the prior, did Mark
He
come to these
visited, he
meetings?
came as a visitor when he could.
Okay. I mean, that's something you would like to have happen?
So I don't know if it's something for another agenda item, but it is something because special ed is part of our school, it's big part of our budget, it's part of our curriculum, it's part of our policies, and it just seems that it's missing. And I don't know, what other people's thinking is on that, but it's always seemed to me, that's part of our admin, our central office, and I was.
So, Diane, just for a little history on the special ed director, my recollection was that we've never had a consistent, they've never been here consistently.
No. The assistant superintendent for business has always been part of the meetings. When Jan Hart was assistant superintendent for whatever it was called at that point, for learning, she started to, right near the end of Tom McGarry's reign, or his tenure, to start attending the meetings, probably the last year or so. And then since then, the assistant superintendents attend as well as the superintendent.
Okay. Russ?
So one thing I talked about was whether we need all of the administrators at our meetings every night that we have a meeting. Because, a lot of times, sometimes you guys just sit here and we never ask you anything. There's not really a topic that you have to address. And so, being somebody that goes to a lot of committee meetings myself, and sometimes I sit there and don't do anything the whole night, that's not really that productive. And it's also, I think from a work-family life balance, it's not the greatest thing. So I don't know if we can really figure out on agendas when we will definitely not need Sue or Tom, although Tom's kind of stuck because he's almost always on the agenda. But I've kind of thought about that too, and maybe there's a compromise where we have a special ed director and Sue here when we need them, but not when we don't. Because there's some days where, really you just sit here and we never ask you anything. There's no topic related to your job. But maybe you want to be here, maybe it's a...
Have I gotten through a whole agenda without having anything to say? I'm not sure.
But, I guess we could think about both of those things, because I'm not sure, I totally agree with you that, the special ed director central office, and it's a position that's just as important as the other ones. It's just a question of, I think in my mind, do we need them here every meeting? Not just the sped director, but also Sue, potentially. I don't know. We should probably put it on the agenda for a discussion.
I'm happy to do that, yep.
Obviously, we'd have to talk to Jean about that, because that might be news to her, but.
I'm sure
We
she's
could.
watching.
Clearly we could look at the agenda each week and identify who would be critical to have at the meeting, so that it wouldn't be necessarily in every meeting attendance that's expected, but I do think we should talk about it at, when it's on the agenda. But thank you for raising it. Any other school committee comments? Okay, so we'll move on to reports. And superintendent's report, we do not have one tonight. I'll give a brief update, school committee chair update, just to give everybody a big picture of what's going on in the school department. This is our last official meeting of the school year, and Superintendent Doyle will be leaving tomorrow, which is Thursday, June 30th, and Superintendent O'Shea will begin Friday, July 1st, which is this Friday. Also, if you missed the last meeting, the new Wolf Swamp principal, Beth Nelson, officially begins on Friday, July 1st, when Marty begins. And at Glenbrook, Nicole Allen will be interviewing tomorrow, Thursday, for the new assistant principal special ed supervisor position. They have a committee of 8 people, including 3 teachers, 2 parents, and 3 administrators, including Jean Fontaine. So we will be getting updates on that search from her as things progress. And also, I know that there was a post on Mass Live, a very brief article about a break-in at Williams. The information that I have from Superintendent Doyle is that there was a rock thrown through the window at Williams Middle School. But I will be getting more details on that. And that's all I have for tonight. Does anyone have any questions?
Well, I could speak to that a
Comments?
little bit.
Tom.
Because I did get called by the police department. There was, a police cruiser was doing a drive-by, saw one of the back doors, the window on the door was smashed. So they called us to let us know, to have somebody come in. They called in backup from the Springfield Police and the State Police because they wanted to ensure that there was nobody in the building. So they did a search with canine units, and there were no persons found in the building. So it was just damage to the building, but no break-in was occurred that evening.
Thank you for the clarification. Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments on that issue or anything else? Okay. All right, so we will move on then to the financial report. And the Finance Subcommittee met on June 22nd. The subcommittee will provide an update now. Tom, would you like to start, or?
Sure. Is it okay if I take some of the items out of order?
Absolutely.
I'd like to start with
Fine.
item number 3 on the agenda, which is the building use fees for the 2016-2017 school year. So in your packet, you should have a copy of the, I believe, the current FY16 fees and the proposed FY17 fees. The only change that was proposed and Finance Subcommittee recommended was an increase to the hourly rate for the custodians. The FY rate for the base pay or time and a half was $38, and it is going up to $38.50. And for double time, it's currently at $36.25 and is going up to $36.50. The rates for building use would stay the same. And so that is the only change that was proposed, is to cover the cost of our custodial overtime when they're needed. Reduced rates that are applied for park and rec programs are charged at the actual hourly rate of the individual. They're not charged at the rates that are listed, so they're only incurring the cost that the school department pays out to the individual that are actually working.
Okay, does anybody have any questions about this item? The building use fees? Or comments? No? Let's see. Okay, so we need to approve these. Will somebody make the motion to approve the building use fees as stated on the agenda?
I move on the recommendation of the Finance Subcommittee that the school committee approve the building use fees 2016-2017 as presented.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you.
Next item I'd like to address is item number 5, which are the warrants and payroll.
Sorry to interrupt, Annette.
Can just,
I remember from last year,
I'm
having to
thinking the
do it
same
by
thing.
roll call because I'm participating remotely. I'm
You
sorry,
have to do
everybody.
roll call.
I believe any votes that we take have to be done by roll call vote.
they do.
Okay.
I was just gonna interrupt as well. Thank you.
So Michelle does vote even though she's remote?
She does, and all votes now that she's called in should be done by roll call vote.
Okay. I
don't
was
think
under
they
the
go
impression that remote callers weren't at liberty to vote during the meeting, so.
They can, they
Okay.
just don't count towards a quorum.
Okay, all right. Okay, so, do we need to back up and do the,
No, the first one she hadn't called in yet.
okay, so let's do that one again then, so.
I
Liz.
move again that the school committee again, that the recommendation of the finance subcommittee, the school committee approve the building use fees 2016, 2017 as presented.
Second.
Okay,
Roll call vote.
roll call vote. Russ?
Russ Dupre, aye.
Michelle?
Michelle Grodzki, aye.
Liz? You. Oh, Jessica Hutchins, yes.
Aye.
Stephanie Jasmine, aye.
So we have 4 ayes and 1 yes. I'm just kidding. Nobody's opposed, and the motion passes. Thank you for the reminder, Michelle and Diane.
Sorry about that.
No, thank you for the reminder. I appreciate it. Okay,
So
Tom.
item number 5, warrants and payroll. So the town, through their annual audit, there was a finding that currently the school committee, school department, does not have, has not been authorizing the payrolls. So by law, the school committee can designate one member to sign off on the payrolls, as would the superintendent. It's something we said that we would correct as of July 1st. And so I am requesting that the school committee authorize one member who would be designated to come in and sign a form similar to the warrants that get authorized at each school committee, but who would come in basically once every other week when payroll is issued to authorize on behalf of the school department. It would occur, the payrolls occur usually on the same weeks as our meetings. It does get shifted a little bit when there are 5 Wednesdays in a month, and so it does skew a little bit, but it would be on that Monday or Tuesday before a payroll pay date. So, for instance, the first paycheck in FY17 is July 6th. So the individual would need to come in this particular case, on Tuesday morning or sometime on Tuesday to sign the document. And then it would follow an every 2-week period thereafter on that Monday or Tuesday to come in and sign the document.
So does it make sense to have somebody from the finance subcommittee do that?
I don't necessarily know that that's required, that it have to be a member from finance sub. I mean, they do review the warrants, but I don't know that there's any policy that stipulates it has to be a member from finance sub. It can be. I just don't know that it has to be.
And what happens in the event that that person cannot make it?
That is a good question. So I did have a conversation with the town today, and they most certainly are not going to not issue the checks if the documents aren't signed by either the superintendent or the designee. They would wait in terms of submitting that document from the school department when those individuals, either one or both, are not available. Because I did say there may come a circumstance when they're both not in, so long as we get it done within a reasonable time period. They obviously are looking for compliance a majority of the time, but I did say there are going to be circumstances, whether it be vacation or commitments, that prevent the individual unforeseen events, because it's not like, from my interpretation of the law, that you can designate multiple people from the school committee. It does say a designee. So they did say they'd be willing to work with us, but it will not impact the issuing of paychecks.
Russ?
I wonder if we could call the state and find out if we have a designee and an alternate.
We could ask.
That would be,
Sure.
because I think it's with payroll, we need somebody to sign it so everybody gets paid.
Sure.
Not that the town would hold it up, but I don't.
Yeah, I mean, they indicated they wouldn't, but we most certainly can ask. But in light of that, I'd like somebody for next week to authorize that first payroll.
So it's Monday and Tuesday.
Monday or Tuesday usually, yeah.
I'm afraid to commit.
We're here
Russ.
at 7:30 in the morning if anybody's. I'll let you
So
in.
The only, I texted Tom about it a little bit, but I don't, there's a lot of days when I'm just really not in town. So I schedule these meetings. I can definitely do it when we have this meeting and it aligns with that. My only concern would be on other days when I'm not back here until 1 in the morning. And I leave early enough where I probably wouldn't be here.
Right, at 7:30.
So that's the only dilemma.
Sue?
If we move school committee to Tuesday night, does that solve the problem, pretty much?
On weeks when they align.
It's,
Yes, I can't guarantee
That's
that
absolutely
That's a good question.
every
Stars
meeting
align, okay.
will line up on a payroll week. They normally do when they're the second and fourth.
Oh, they are.
They normally
Yeah,
do,
that's
right?
usually when pays fall, but we do have some months that have 3 Wednesdays, so it does fluctuate.
Okay.
So,
And what are the hours? I'm sorry to get so specific, but it seems I'm trying to be.
here,
Sure.
we're usually open during the school year 8 to 4:30. Some people are here earlier. And then during the summer, officially the office closes at 3, but there are some of us that are still here after that.
I have a question when I,
Michelle?
oh, okay. I was wondering if we could designate the chair, and if the chair was unavailable, if it would automatically go to the vice chair since they would be available, or they would be serving as the chair in the chair's absence. Because that could have thrown the loophole if we had Jeff do it, but if Jeff couldn't, Russ could go in because she was unavailable.
Okay, Sue wants to respond to
It's a
that.
dumb, I'm just thinking like a mom, but who drops off kids in the morning? Could that warrant be at the school? Does it have to be this school, or could they sign it somewhere else?
It could be. I would just be cautious of sending information out, has name and
Yeah, I was just trying to think
information. I mean,
about
it's public, but
some
Yeah.
good way to guarantee that someone was going to be at that place every morning.
And in the meantime, you're making yourself too valuable to eliminate from any of our meetings this year.
And no further items.
Is there a payroll schedule already in place?
there is. Yes, I most
think that would
certainly
make it easier
can
to see it.
Get that out.
And then,
That'd be great. And that's something that we can,
change.
right.
Yes, we don't have to lock in a designee for the year, so long as
oh,
they're
you can change it?
Yeah, so long as they're authorized by vote, I'm assuming, of the school committee, they're the designee for that time period, whether it be one payroll or for a period of time.
Oh, it does need to be a vote by the school committee, the designee.
Yep.
And the
Is-
payroll continues through the summer?
It does.
That's what do you do if you're calling?
That's what I say. I do think the town's willing to work with us. I don't think they're going to hold a payroll. I'm sure they understand that there are going to be circumstances, including the superintendent not being here on certain days, but or certain weeks. For the most part, they're looking for consistency in having it signed before the checks are released.
When you say they, are you referring to the DOR
No,
or to the town?
I'm referring to the town.
Okay. And so the town was requesting a single designee.
I think
This isn't by law.
I believe it is by law.
It is by law.
For a municipal district, the
Okay.
way I read it, it's a little more stringent than what a regional district has for an option in terms of authorizing payroll. But
Okay.
this, again, I believe designates in a member. I don't necessarily know that it speaks to an alternate, which would make sense, but I don't know that it does.
It probably wouldn't matter. We can ask
Probably
the DOR.
wouldn't matter, but.
I also think it's possible, to vote tonight to have somebody next week, but then also, I think it might make sense to have the chair, whoever is the chair of the finance subcommittee, to be handling this. If the committee thinks that it just logistically makes sense, and I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this, but.
Whoever can do it. It would help me just to see, because
Okay.
when the payroll is, because it could be the next two, I'm not even here.
Okay.
For ease, I can tell you, starting July 6th, it runs every 2 weeks. So if you have your school calendar in front of you, I can tell you that it would run, the first paycheck is July 6th, and then it runs every other week for 26 pays.
So it's the 5th and the 19th.
And it's just the day, anytime during
Yep.
that day.
I mean, we would need, the form would be completed, but it's
Yeah.
usually, in most cases, except for a Monday holiday, would be available Monday,
Okay.
Monday day, and then anytime Monday or Tuesday.
Can we vote on someone picking it up for the summer, because out of those four, I'm gone too, and then re-vote for the fall? Because that
Sure.
would be, if somebody is around those four, just to get us through the summer, and then we can vote for the school year.
So
July
July 4th
5th.
or 5th.
5th, 4th, we're,
Oh, right.
5th,
We're not open.
19th.
July 19th.
9/23.
July 19th, I'm sorry, what were the other dates?
The dates would be July 5th, the 18th or 19th, August 1st and 2nd, and then the 15th and 16th.
I can't do 2 of those weeks.
Well, which two can you not do? Because I could do the 5th and the, what was the next one, the 18th?
18th or 19th.
Yeah.
I can't do the 19th, and I can't do the 15th, 16th of August.
Okay, why don't we, right now, since I know I can do 2 weeks, I really need somebody who can volunteer for the other 2 weeks, so we can vote to have 2 designees for the summer, and then we can revisit it in the fall. So, can somebody fill in, is there anybody?
I can do 1 week, that first week in August, but I can't do the second one. And then July, I'm out for 2 of the 4.
Okay, Tom, tell me again for August, I'm sorry.
It would be the August 1st and 2nd,
Yeah.
and then the 15th and 16th.
Liz, are you around at all in August? We have such a small committee here tonight.
Which one do you need for?
For August, so it
For
would.
which one?
So both the first week in August and then the third week in August. Would just be those two payrolls.
I think. I can do the 15th, 16th. The plan for the first week of August. So I can do the 15th or 16th.
Okay.
I mean, I can do the first week of August. If you want to have 3 people do it.
That's fine. Are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, I would just
Okay.
draft the motion to
That's fine.
designate the person and the specific payroll weeks, and
Do you want us to review the dates and write them down now
sure.
for the motion? Do you want the dates to be in the motion?
Well, I would put the payroll day, actually, so I would use the date of the paycheck, which would be the payroll on July 6th,
All right, yep, just July
the
6th.
payroll on July 20th,
Uh-huh.
August 3rd, and August 17th.
Okay, so to summarize, and hopefully somebody can write this down and make a motion. So I will cover July 6th and July 20th. And Liz will cover August 17th. And Stephanie, did you say August 3rd? Or who said August 3rd?
I'll do it.
Russ. Okay,
And when is Stephanie doing it?
I'm not.
she's not on there.
Not at all.
Russ
Who's
is.
doing the July 20th?
I've got the July 6th and July 20th.
Okay.
Stephanie, do you want to do July 20th?
I can't.
You're not here?
No.
Okay. All right, so, motion. Liz, would you want to make?
Okay, I move that the school committee designate Jessica Hutchins on July 6th, Jessica Hutchins on July 20th, Russell Dupree on August 3rd, Liz Bowen on August 17th, to make both sign off on the payroll for Long Meadow School Committee, and will be amended later.
Second.
Second. Okay, so we have a roll call vote. Russ,
Russell Dupre, aye.
Michelle,
Michelle Grotzky, aye.
Jessica Hutchins, aye.
Liz, aye.
Stephanie Jasmine, aye.
Thank you. Okay.
So I'm going to move on to item 1 under the financial report, which is the year-to-date budget report. So included in your packet, the finance sub also reviewed is a updated year-to-date projection for FY16, following the same format that the committee has seen in the past. For Stephanie and Jess, this is so the columns, the last 3 columns on the right, the 2 gray columns would be, the first gray column on the left would be my estimated transactions that'll occur from the date of the report through the close of the fiscal year. And the next column on to the right of that would be the estimated balance. And then the final column on the right are the total FY15 year-to-date expenditures for those particular lines. The reason that I'm including it tonight is because as we've been tracking this throughout the year, we've had deficits. This report, I think the last one we discussed, had about a $30,000 deficit, which was at the end of May. This one now has about a $30,000 positive balance, and this would be the balance in our general fund appropriation. The reason there has been a change to that amount is because we went back and asked the schools who receive an appropriation of discretionary funds to consider not spending down their funds. An assumption that I made in previous projections was that they would spend out whatever supply of money they have, whatever technology money they have. So they have worked to not spend all of their discretionary funds. They've gone without, maybe in certain cases, so we do acknowledge and appreciate the fact that through their efforts, we're able to have these funds available. There's about $60,000, which explains that shift from the negative 30 to the positive 30 that is listed on this report. These are estimates, so I do think the numbers will change a bit. I am usually conservatively high when I put this estimate together, but most of our payroll is accounted for the year, so now it's just processing the final bills that we will have for FY16. The last warrant, which you'll have in front of you, I think, at our next meeting, will be processed on July 15th. So I don't anticipate having final numbers until sometime mid to late July. So I did this is mostly informational, so the committee has an idea where we would stand in terms of any general fund balance for FY16. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have on any particular line or on the report itself. If not, I will move into the next item, which is at our last meeting also we did some transfers on the kindergarten fund with the FY17 budget having funding for a tuition-free kindergarten program. We did appropriate about $15,000 to lines in the FY16 budget. I do anticipate that we will have some residual balance in that fund and would request the school committee to authorize the superintendent or their designee to allow us to expend those funds in FY16. Again, similar to not having the bottom line total until all our invoices are processed, I anticipate that number will be somewhere maybe in that $5,000 to $10,000. But since we will no longer have a tuition program, I think it makes sense to use up whatever fund balance we have as of June 30th. And seeing how won't know when I'll have those numbers, I was just asking the committee to allow the superintendent to authorize us to appropriate it and then transfer expenditures onto it to zero out any fund balance by June 30th.
Russ?
I move that the school committee authorize the superintendent or their designee to appropriate and expend the balance in the private kindergarten fund in FY16.
Second?
Second.
Roll call.
Russell Dupre, aye.
Michelle Grotzky, aye.
Jessica Hutchins, aye.
Aye.
Stephanie Jasmine, aye.
And so the last item under the Finance Subcommittee is item number 4, which is the use of this estimated balance. During the course of this past year, you guys have received a couple presentations and adopted some new curriculums. The two in particular that were adopted this year were new geometry books for the high school and an elementary science program. Both of those new curriculums were adopted, but at the time, there was not funding either budgeted or available in the estimated projections that were being provided throughout the course of the year. So I guess tonight, I would ask if you have any desire to move forward with using any of the estimated balance. And again, right now I'm projecting it to be around 28,000. I do expect that number to move hopefully up a bit. I can't give you an exact number, but I do anticipate once we get our final expenses processed, that number will fluctuate to some degree.
With the kindergarten funds.
Yeah, with the kindergarten funds, with encumbered monies that we might not spend out in FY16, so we set it aside with the expectation that we'll pay an invoice, and those amounts don't always match up. So if we have money set aside and we don't have a corresponding invoice for the full amount, we release that balance, and it then goes into the available balance amount.
Okay.
So that would then again affect our bottom line that is on this report. You know, we still have about $500,000 encumbered on this report, and we'll be working hard over the next week to process as much of those invoices to clear them up before the final FY16 accounts payable warrant is processed. So I will have a better idea, but at this point I can't specify exactly how much it'll be.
So I wonder if, unless Russ, you wanted to say something, if it would be helpful to the committee for Sue and or Tom to give a very brief history about the textbooks when they were approved, whether they were approved, and the science curriculum. My understanding is that the math curriculum for the high school was approved in 2015 by the school committee.
Calendar year 2015, this fiscal year. So I want to say the maybe fall or winter back this fiscal year. So maybe October, November of last calendar year.
Okay. And the science curriculum was presented
Science curriculum was
recently.
presented in May, I think.
But was there a vote on that?
I do believe
It
it
was
was
accepted. It was adopted.
also in May,
Okay.
maybe the next meeting. So beginning of May, it might have been presented, the end of May, I think it was adopted.
Okay.
Adopting it doesn't necessarily authorize the purchase of it, but it does allow for when there are funds available, whether it be from the school's discretionary funds or some other source, to go out and make that purchase.
Right. So my understanding, and this is how it's been for a long time, is that a lot of the materials, textbooks, things that we need do tend to come towards the end of the budget cycle. So I'm hoping that we can start to move in the direction of creating a line item, doing some projections, doing some long-term planning, so that we are anticipating and planning for these really important materials that we need, so that they're not sort of, we're not scrambling at the last minute to try to get valuable materials for teachers out there for the fall. And, but again, I realize that this is really entrenched in how, Long Meadow has done things for a long time. So it's just something for us, I think, as a committee to look at. And I just wanted to recognize that Tom Landers is here if anyone has any questions about the geometry books. And Marty O'Shea also has joined us. Superintendent O'Shea, also please let me know if either one of you would like to be recognized regarding this discussion. Russ.
I was just going to say for the people at home, so we have about 30,000 roughly in extra monies. The math program is about just over $24,000, and
39.
39.
There's 2 quotes.
Oh, there's a second one,
Yeah.
okay.
Right.
And then the science is either 175 if we do the whole program all at once, or we can break it up into over 3 years, and that's about 68,500. Which obviously, from what we just learned, we really don't have the money even to do a third of that program at this point. So that's just more information.
Did you want to speak?
I was just going to speak to geometry books. So this is part of our ongoing cycle. Last year, the school committee adopted and helped us with the Algebra 2 books. And the plan was, because so many of the Algebra 2 teachers are the same teachers who teach geometry, we wanted to allow them to digest one book a year. The transition from to Common Core started, it was adopted in 2011, 2012, and it started after that. So this is the third and final phase of our full transition to the Common Core in math. So we're hoping that it certainly can be adopted. We have teachers who are excited to get working on this. They've already worked with the, in anticipation and hope that it's going to be approved. They're looking at electronic copies that the book companies have given us already. And, we certainly, I know this hasn't been approved prior to now because we don't know if the funds are going to be available. But as Mr. Mazza said, in October, November, we've been planning and hoping for this third and final transition. This will definitely help our students, and without it, our students would be behind the curve as we prepare for MCAS 2.0 and as we are now embarking on the brand new SAT, which just started in May, or it just started in the spring.
And so, to be fair, we put this purchase off a year to not spend that money at the end of last year.
Yeah.
Right. So we were trying to be fiscally mindful then, and maybe it might have been the wrong choice given the science coming up the pike, but they really have been waiting 2 years for this text, the high school.
Stephanie.
Coming late into the game here, I wasn't here for the presentation on geometry, so I have a lot of questions. Okay, so there's a lot up in the air right now as far as Common Core, as far as MCAS 2.0. We don't know where either one are going at this point. My understanding is that geometry as taught based upon the standards set by Common Core is very different than geometry as it was taught previously. So my first question is, are you, and I know you're not the math head, but as far as how is geometry being taught right now? Is it in line with the Common Core? Was there a change in methodology? Those textbooks are old, so I didn't know, what the teachers are doing in terms of that.
So it's being taught with the old textbooks. It's being taught in line with the Common Core. As you know, in 2011, 2012, the Common Core was married to the existing Massachusetts frameworks. But for two reasons, one of which I mentioned already, we wanted to allow the teachers that are pretty much the same teachers who are teaching Algebra 2 and Geometry a year to digest the new Algebra 2 books and to do work last summer, etc. We also wanted to watch what happened, and we were all watching what was going to happen with Park versus MCAS, and we know it's now the choice is MCAS 2.0. But in following that closely, in my professional opinion and the professional opinion of other administrators, central administrators, and building principals, MCAS 2.0 is very much Park-like. So the other reason was to sort of see what happens in this past year, and it was a chance to see to get some feedback on these particular books, see if they changed at all, see how other school districts that we're utilizing, if they liked them. And Meredith Laughlin, our department chair in math, has done the lion's share of this work. She could certainly speak to this better than I could, but our students are being served well and they're being educated currently, but in order to make the full transition, this is what we think is going to appear on MCAS 2.0. We are told that it will be more rigorous, it will be more challenging than the current MCAS. So I don't know I hope that answers your question. This is the most up-to-date, informed decision, and they vetted over half a dozen different texts, and these are the ones that they chose because they think that this will serve our students the best.
Russ?
So I have a couple. One, we have to use the money. So, I mean, it makes sense to use it on something we need. But I do have a little bit of a concern that, you know, I know the elementary really wants the science curriculum. And I know that, not that we've been spending a lot of money on curriculum in any place necessarily, but the high school was the last place. So I hate to have, and the high school is performing really well, which is good, and I think this could help continue that. But the elementary also, you know, we really should be focusing on the elementary as well, because that seems to be where the scores are still very good. But if there's any weakness, it would probably be more there than at the high school and middle schools. So that's just one area where I'm a little bit concerned about that, because I hate to, you know, we don't vote for the science. I hate for the elementary school principals in particular to think that we're not, you know, supporting them as well. It's a much more expensive program, so it's hard to support that right now. The second dilemma I think we face, though, is because everything is in flux. So we have MCAS 2.0, and I think a lot of people, including myself, tend to agree with you that it's going to look Park-like more than MCAS-like. But we don't know that for sure. And then we also have the ballot question, potentially the Common Core. So it's somewhat risky to be spending money on curriculum when we don't know. We're aligning to something that we think will be in place in the next couple of years, but it may not be. So that's tough too.
I would just, I agree, and it's an interesting ballot question, but the only thing that I would say is that the Common Core in math and geometry exists now in the current Massachusetts frameworks.
Yeah.
So I agree. We're going to watch that ballot question carefully and see what happens. But this is what we have in front of us. This has been what we've been working with and what we're preparing for and trying to prepare students best for.
So, can I
Stephanie?
just follow up on that. So what you're saying is that the geometry that they're teaching right now that's aligned with the Common Core is also aligned with Massachusetts curriculum framework. So they're essentially the same methodology?
Right. In 2011 and 2012, the Common Core was joined with the existing frameworks. Massachusetts decided to say, we like our frameworks. We're not going to give them up completely. We're going to meld the two. So that has been in effect really since the 2012-2013 school year in English and math, and we've been doing that. What is coming? So that exists. What is the future? Is MCAS 2.0, which has been, when we analyze the MCAS exams, not only the results, but when the teachers who proctor the exam, they know the frameworks and the standards so intimately that they will say, that's a new question, that's a Park question, or that's a Park-like question. So those are being tested and piloted by the state, and we are told that those are going to increase. So the difference is really the standards and frameworks have changed. We're living with them. The test has been stagnant, for lack of a better word, but it's now going to become dynamic. That test is going to start to change even more in the increasing years.
So in that way, go ahead.
So it's, can I?
Yes.
Yeah. So the new texts are more rigorous. They're more in depth. They're more student inquiry based. Kind of that stuff that we're looking for to send kids out into the real world. How do we solve a problem? How do we dig in? How do we get our own answers? How do we, it's here's your algorithm, solve your problem. So it's that kind of change in teaching methodology. So there is a methodology change, which we just have to get used to too, but we're looking to, writing to text, all of those things that are coming up the pike, whether we stay with the Mass Common Core framework or whether but those are things will be with us forever, I think.
So I think in the research that I've done, there's a lot of controversy over the math books that have been put out, and the publishers have been under fire. for different reasons, one of which they're saying they're poorly aligned with the Common Core, and Pearson was one of them that had come up. But when we talk about buying new textbooks because you believe that the test is going to be more rigorous and it's going to be aligned with Park, but we haven't seen the test, and you feel that the textbooks, and granted, I'm not saying these textbooks do not need to be updated. Clearly, they're old and they do. My question is now the time to do that when so much is in flux? These publishers are under fire for what they're putting out there. There is a change in methodology, and I don't know, and again, I'm coming late into the game, I don't know how the teachers feel about giving them new textbooks in August and saying, here you go. How does that roll out during the course of the year?
So right now, today at the high school, there were math teachers volunteering their time because last week we were given advanced electronic copies. And if this is approved tonight, beginning right after the 4th of July, there's some summer money allotted, predicated on your decision tonight, for them to formally start working. So you're absolutely right. They would have, even though we would order these and the student books would come in, they have seen advanced copies of these. They have seen teacher editions because they've done their homework over the last really year and a half looking at these books. But they're going to work on these this summer because they have the electronic copies. Electronic copies come with the hard copies. I mean, our position is it's been up and down, and we've followed the Common Core debate and controversy. We really just want to give our students the best that we can. We really just want to give our students the best textbooks that we have kind of been supplementing over the last 2.5 years. And like I said, the math SAT is already changed. And our students do really well on that. We want to continue them to do well. We want to prepare them. I'm going to pay attention, as we all are, to the ballot question in November, but the bottom line is our students are taking the new SATs, our students are taking the MCAS, they do very well, we want to continue that. So they're being exposed to that, but rather than teachers supplementing and trying to fill in holes over here, and we'd like them to all get the same resources and have uniformity. That's really our purpose. And of the texts that are out there that we have looked at and vetted, I rely on math teachers that are experts in this, and they really like these particular books to service our students the best. I guess that's the most direct answer I can give.
They were so happy they got the electronic version to look at because they've been, is it going to come? Can we have it? Can we get it? Can we get it? And they're waiting for the hard copies, and someone talked the company into some electronic versions. So,
right.
I mean, they're really looking forward to new books.
Okay.
They're not apprehensive about it. So.
And this is part, I guess the last thing I would say on that is this is part of the 10-year curriculum review cycle anyway. You were right. Last year was year 10, but for the reasons I've already described, we wanted to break it up and to see if anything else happened. And we've learned a little bit more, but there's still questions about the future. But this will serve our students no matter what happens in November.
So the teachers, and I'm sorry, because I am late to the game, and I don't even know that I'm going to vote because I didn't hear the teacher's presentation, and this has already been spoken about before. But they're excited about it from what you're saying, and this is a methodology they're comfortable rolling out in the fall. They've been prepping in some fashion beforehand.
Yeah, they believe that this is the best resource for our students. They believe there are all kinds of different opinions of whether they like the Common Core or not, but their job is
Right.
to serve the Longmeadow students
Right.
the best, and that's
Right.
what they want to do, and they've been involved in this decision, and they've been part of this, and Meredith Laughlin has worked directly with both the Algebra 2 teachers and the geometry teachers, and they've been part of this decision, and these are the resources they feel will serve the students the best.
So if the ballot question goes on and Common Core is voted down, which it's very specific as to what will happen if it's just not a matter of it being voted down, what happens to these textbooks?
These textbooks, we've had those discussions internally. These textbooks, Massachusetts prides itself on high rigorous standards anyway. Massachusetts is going to, it'll be interesting, the politics that happens, but the bottom line for students is, I don't know how different it is going to be for the average student in the classroom. I think that they're going to go and debate that for the next few years
Right.
and figure out what they're going to do. But in the interim, we don't want to lose
Right.
time with our students.
Does anyone else, Liz, have any questions?
I don't have any questions. I just want to say that working in my professional life in the past 2 years, I've worked in geometry class using the Pearson book, and the teachers found it that it was very easy to use to teach the students. It followed Common Core, and it wasn't. It was written so that it was very understandable for the students and the teacher to, you know, present lessons and things like that. And the kids, it wasn't a hard textbook for the kids to read.
Thank
And
you.
that's this one.
The Pearsons. It's one.
Right, there are two of them.
There are
One is
two.
McGraw-Hill and one is Pearson.
Russ?
Let's say Common Core didn't exist, and we had this textbook versus the current one we have now, and we were still under the old MCAS, scenario.
Good question.
Which book would be better for that?
Good question.
They need a new book anyway, because to be fair, things have changed over the last 10 years since a new geometry book was purchased and vetted and chosen. It's a hard question because we're living with the marriage of the Common Core since 11-12 with the Massachusetts frameworks. The real game changer is the test. Because we've been living with the same exam, a stagnant exam, for X amount of years. They might test they do test questions, or a few questions that they don't tell you which one is a test question, but
the current textbook is how old?
it's I think we're at 11 years, 10 years, 11 years for the.
So is that even aligned to
So
MCAS?
that would
'Cause
be
MCAS came
that
out
would
in
be
93.
it's up for review anyway, and
They have to supplement to align with the current text.
Even to align currently to MCAS, yeah.
I said I'd be quiet, but okay.
Superintendent O'Shea, thank you.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, I think Russ asked the key question, and I'm like Stephanie, sort of late in the game, and I don't have all the facts at my fingertips, but I think the key question is, do you have a resource that needs to be updated? And it sounds like you do. It sounds like you have a resource that's time, because as new textbooks come online, you have new ancillary resources, you have new electronic resources, new resources for parents, and the teachers. We have great teachers in this district, and they'll make the adjustments as there are adjustments to the standards, and there will be, whether the ballot is successful or whether there's just ongoing revision. There will be adjustments to the standards, and you have great teachers that can make the adjustments if you put the right tool in their hands. So I think, not knowing, not having the level of understanding that Tom has here, I think it sounds like you've got a resource that it's time. Now, how that fits in with your elementary discussion, again, that's something that I have to listen to as well. So you got a lot of competing needs here, so.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think this needs to be the next purchase in the pipeline, and I think, talking about the standards and talking about aligning in terms of, the quality of the textbooks is an important discussion, and unfortunately, it's really bigger than what we can discuss here today. And I think we need to make a decision based on what we know right now and getting what the teachers and the staff and the administrators are recommending as the best and the most beneficial for our students, given what we know today. Unfortunately, we don't have the ability to make these decisions based on projections, and we will, or we very well, may have to adjust down the line. But I know the high school's been waiting a long time, and I feel good with your feedback about how well it was vetted and the involvement of the teachers and their opinion about the curriculum. And, like Stephanie, I am coming late in the game here as well, but I was able to get a sense from you tonight, and I really appreciate you being here and giving us that. So I do think that it's the right decision for us to make tonight. I also, and I'd like, maybe Russ, you'd like to talk to this point also. It's not a comparison of the science curriculum versus the geometry curriculum and which is better or which would be more beneficial, but the reality is the reality, and there are a couple of realities. One is the numbers that we have, the dollars that we have. And the other reality is that this has been a long-standing adoption that's been before us, and it's something that needs to come to fruition. And we also, I believe everybody wants the elementary schools to have the new science curriculum, or at least a new science curriculum, and really look at something that's robust and wonderful. And I know Stephanie and I were there for the presentation for the science curriculum, though we weren't yet on the committee, so we do have some of that information. But that's sort of where I stand tonight, and if anybody else has anything to add about
Do you need a motion,
that.
Tom?
I think that would be helpful to authorize the use of FY16 general fund money in the amount of $39,552 and some odd change.
21 cents, maybe?
So that way we can process the order tomorrow with the expectation that we'll have that amount available in FY16's budget.
Okay, I'll make a motion to authorize the use of FY16
General fund.
general funds to purchase high school geometry books in the amount of $39,552.21.
Any discussion?
I'll just say
Jess, if I could, I just want to speak to something that Russ had said, and I guess I want to ask a question or two. I'm sorry, I didn't realize we were going right into the motion. In terms of the, I heard you, Jess, say it's not really an either or right now in terms of which one for us to purchase, the science or the high school text, because they're not the same price point. I think we've already answered this, but there is no way to get part of the science curriculum down to a $40,000 price tag at this point. Like, we wouldn't be able to get anything for $40,000.
We could get
and
some.
the reason I asked is because, much to the points that Russ made, I think my concern is with that we're looking at, and I'm sure maybe you could explain this, but it seems like we haven't had a science curriculum, or we don't have science materials at the elementary level right now,
Right.
or they've been just kind of coming up with them on their own, creating their own science curriculum. Is that
That's right. I think they're even older than the geometry books. I think Michael Clark found his name in one of the science books, actually. Well, maybe
So I
not
think
long
that
ago.
was one of the concerns to me, if we were given an either or, the
Yeah.
fact that we don't have anything right now at the elementary level, and that would cover K through 5 and preschool.
Yeah, I mean, we
So
we could
makes a
look
lot of
at an
sense.
implementation in, a certain amount of grades. There are things we could look at for less amount of money. I mean, we were hoping that we could implement it in every grade, K through 5,
Yeah.
at least on a, partial basis, or getting one kit per grade. I know that we haven't, the whole budget hasn't shaken out yet, and we're looking to let go of some funds that hopefully don't come to fruition, and so we could potentially keep it on the back burner and hope that there's something that comes up, or, we might ask that you okay some school choice funding for some of the curriculum at certain grade levels. So, I mean, you have the same challenge, the science MCAS is being changed, and we don't have text that covers the right information. We don't have kits. Teachers are pulling from here and there. They're getting their own resources, and so, we're still on math. We probably should finish that up before we go to science, but I hear you, Michelle.
Okay, I just, I thought we might have been talking about which one to do, and that was one of the points that I was thinking of, is
Yeah.
that we don't really have anything at the elementary level, but we have something that they've been successful working with. Not that they're exactly what they want, and they're certainly dated and old, but it's better than having nothing. And, not that the teachers aren't creating things at the elementary level, they are, but that was
No,
something that
your
was
point,
playing,
your point is appropriate to the motion, because they really are at the exclusion of one another right now tonight. So we are discussing
Okay.
them together because of the limited funds that we have today. Tom, did you want to address some of?
Well, I just want to say, I think Sue just alluded to, this is not finalized in terms of our FY16. It's a projection as of right now. I most certainly will have to give you an update at some point during the summer as to where we stand. There may be some additional money. I don't know that it's going to be $70,000, though, to purchase
One kit.
one.
The 70s for the one kit.
It's provides, my understanding was one kit, one of, there's 3 different kits per grade, so it's one of each that then the teachers would have to rotate and teach different areas of the curriculum at different times. So.
Or one would teach all 3, and they rotate
Yeah, they
through
rotate
science.
students
Yeah.
or something, so,
Yeah.
but yes, it would be basically a third of the amount that is needed.
Okay. And I guess my follow-up question on that is in terms of, you know, what sort of training would take place and how much time the teachers would need if you were able to purchase it, if the money becomes available in another month.
Good question,
Easier
Michelle.
for the math to follow suit in a month than it is for the science curriculum to follow suit in a month.
So the science committee was so gung-ho about this particular kit, these particular kits, the FOSS kits, that they have volunteered to do training in school. They would do like teacher shares and things like that during the school day, but they are adamant that this particular science system and these kits are pretty much ready-made, that you can walk in as a new teacher, open one of the lessons, you have all of the things in front of you, and you can teach, you know, a good science lesson pretty easily with not a lot. Now, that's not what we want them to do, but, you know, it seems like it's put together that well. So I came in after they presented, the next day the kit was still here, and I came in and kind of tried to test that theory out and looked at a lesson through and through, and I found it to be pretty easy to teach, but pretty rigorous for kids. And there are several layers of inquiry, and you don't need to go into all the layers of inquiry. You can start, you know, with the first 2 or 3 layers of inquiry. So, we're not hearing pushback from teachers at elementary about that piece of it. Like, you know, we're for other implementations of other subject areas. It won't take nearly as much PD as literacy did, as math is.
Okay.
Russ?
Okay, so
No. Michelle, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, just to summarize, I just want to clarify. So, Tom, you're not saying that if you purchase these geometry books now, that we won't be able to purchase the science curriculum later, or are you saying, or did I hear you say it's kind of a neither or?
I think as of tonight, you do not have the funding available to make both purchases. You don't even have the funding available to make the entire elementary science curriculum for, I guess for lack of a better terminology, a third of the total package. That doesn't mean that there won't be some funds that may be available throughout the course of the next month. But again, I can't sit here tonight and tell you what that number will be, or that it will be up to $70,000.
Tom, do you know what
Right,
our school
so-
choice balance is?
The overall fund balance, and again, going off of memory, is somewhere around 315,000.
Oh, 15.
Projecting
Oh.
at the end of the year.
Okay. Sorry, Michelle.
That's okay. I guess I'm just looking at it, and if we have, what is it, 32 right now in the bank, and we find another 3 in a month, then we have enough for the science curriculum. But if we spend this now on the high school, we won't really be able to cover the amount of the science curriculum that we'll need.
That would be a fair
Yeah.
assessment.
And we would also be looking at supplementing with savings from school choice funding.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Tom, what's the balance that we like to keep in there?
School committee has, I believe, a guidelines of 250,000 balance in the school choice fund.
So we do have money there that maybe we could purchase one kit with, or 1 year with.
Can I ask a question?
Stephanie, yep.
Having looked at Boss Online, I mean, it looks like a great curriculum. Looking at the price, where you have complete kits at $153,000 and teacher materials at $4,000, then some of the kits need to be replaced. So we didn't see anything about what the cost will be to sustain it. But that's not really my question right now. It's more along the lines of right now we don't seem to have continuity in sequence of what's being taught in science and content based on their presentation. And what I'm wondering, and I know that teachers are supplementing to a great extent and I think some of them are doing it out of their own pockets. So what I'm wondering is, what do those teacher materials look like? Is there the possibility of buying teacher materials and having continuity in the topics that are covered in the sequence, and then trying to supplement that without these prepackaged kits? As the consumer that I am, I'm looking at, what these kits entail, and they're nicely packaged, and it comes with a $153,000 price tag, and you've got the workbooks, and you've got the worksheets, and you've got the rocks, and you've got the worms, and then a lot of that you have to replace, and you can replace through them, or you can replace on your own. And what I'm wondering is some of that stuff that we can get the teacher materials for, do they not allow you to do that? And then the teachers would have the curriculum and the topics and be able to supplement those materials.
So the replacement materials are every 3 years you need to replace, according to FOSS, if you use 2 students in an inquiry group. And so we would probably use 3 to cut back on that. And it's about $9,000 every 3 years for the district to replace. The replacement cost is minimal compared to your math consumables, reading consumables, things like that. But a lot of the things on the list are paper, scissors, tape, things that we already have in district, baking soda, baking powder, vinegar, things like that. So,
but then there's live things.
The
I did pull up the list for everything,
Yeah.
and it is their list is pricey. So each grade has it, and when you're buying a kit for $153,000, some of that is permanent.
Yep.
A lot of it, it's not just the consumables. Some of it, is just needs to be replaced and isn't necessarily, it seems to be under that line of consumable, but still needs to be replaced. So I think that is something to think about. But what I'm wondering, when you have limited funds, is there any advantage to looking at those teacher materials and using them as part of the curriculum, and then funding supplementation of the materials outside of?
So put our own curriculum together, basically. So, I think I'm just going to look back historically when we did that for math, kind of. We had at least 2 textbooks running throughout the district, and if not 3 in different situations, and lots of supplemental stuff. We didn't have a common curriculum, so you'd go to Blueberry and get one thing, and you'd go to Wolf Swamp and get something else, and that's going to happen. And it happens now in science. So
do you think it would, though, because the teacher materials go through the topics and they go, you choose the sequence. The majority of this, the premise behind it is hands-on. That's why the cost is there. So the question is, do you need to buy the hands-on through them with this hefty price tag, or can you buy the curriculum and purchase the hands-on part yourself? I mean, that's what teachers are doing right now, except we're missing the curriculum piece. They're supplementing.
So you can't just buy their curriculum and supplement
the teaching materials.
Yeah, you have to buy.
That's why you have to buy the kits. Sorry,
was that the original
Yes,
question?
I'm like, did they not let you do that?
No,
because it
they
would be
want you to
cheaper?
buy the kit. So you could buy your consumables after, except you'd have to order the bugs and things from
Could you buy the minimum amount? Like, could you? I don't know. Did they make you buy 1 kit per teaching material? So teaching materials in 1 kit.
Oh, they'll sell you any amount that you want to buy, as long as you're buying it in the kit.
But you have to buy a kit
Yep.
to get the teaching materials.
Yes.
Does that bring the cost? I mean, the teaching materials are so minimum in terms of cost.
It is a smaller portion of it.
It's $4,000 versus $150.
It's the 32, student books and things like that are bringing the price up per kit. So
yeah, and the kits are, I mean, they're neat, but it's all things that you can literally just put together yourself.
Yeah.
When I looked at the materials, I'm like,
I think some of the need is really to have them put together for teachers who are learning a new math, who are still diving into literacy at elementary. I think to put one more thing on their plate would be really a challenge for them.
Well, I also saw in their presentation, part of the problem is we don't have continuity in the amount of time that's spent on science, and I think we would all agree it's too little. And also the content, and also, so I think this is I don't think we've addressed the time portion of it and how much is designated to science, but
I think we need to know what we can get for kids too before we figure out what we're going to designate for time. Yeah. But I agree, we have too little time.
Russ,
So this is going to go along with something Stephanie said earlier, but I think for this coming year, we got to change the way we do this completely.
It's terrible.
Because this is a crazy type of decision, because we're weighing, the high school, science, school choice.
Not only that,
Yeah.
but we have 2 new members who don't have the background information on.
Yeah, we don't really know if we can even afford anything until we get the final numbers. And probably the biggest problem I have with the science is that we don't know if we can afford the second and third year of actually getting the whole program. So what'll happen next year, or the end of this coming year, is that we could be looking at this and the middle school team again, or music, or any of those other topics that could come up as part of the budget. And I'd hate to vote tonight and say, well, let's do this science, the first third, and then find out we can't do the second third and the third third. So I think we need to try and work this into the budget, so it's part of that discussion up front instead of using monies at the end. The other thing I think we should do is, we have, a capital plan. We should have a curriculum plan, so we can say, well, we need to do math this year, we're doing science next year, we plan it out so we know what we need next, and then we try to fund it. I mean, of all the things in our district, this shouldn't be something we fund this way. I mean,
It sounds like there is the 10-year cycle review going on, but somehow it's not filtering this direction in terms of budget.
Right.
Yeah, there's
And
a review cycle.
Right.
It's a little off in some subject areas based on need, and we try to follow it, but we often change it around based on need, and it's the funding, but none of it is funded up front.
So I think we need to start
Consumables,
talking
maybe.
up front about it.
It
Let's
needs to
talk
be-
about the 10-year plan. I mean, it's not like,
Yeah.
I think it's just something that we all need to talk about together in some future meeting and figure out.
A schedule.
What it looks like,
I think everything has a
because-
schedule for its review, and
It also needs to become a line item in our budget, so that we're talking about this starting in the fall with the new budget cycle. Because sitting here tonight, I don't feel comfortable earmarking monies from school choice when I don't have a handle on what's coming down the pike in a few months. And I think Russ was sort of touching on this. It's a yucky position to be in, and it's nobody's fault, but it is a really yucky position to be in, because these materials are so critical and so important. But we're at the end of the year, we have a new school committee, we have a really tight budget, we have one, area of, that we do have some funds, but we really don't know what we have this year that we're gonna need to look at, and we need to start with a clean slate rather than already in the red. That's my concern. And I also think, regarding the science curriculum, that we need to have staff, if they're willing, come back, talk to us a little bit about it, answer some of the questions about the curriculum, and some of the different plans that we could put together to fund it really early in the fall. Does that make sense to you, Sue?
Yeah, it makes sense fiscally, yes.
Yeah,
It
and
doesn't
in
make sense
terms
for
of-
kids, but it makes sense fiscally for this town, yeah. Yep.
Go.
Jess, can I ask a question of Sue?
Yep.
Okay. So I agree with everything you just said, Jess, because and the word yucky, this is a really tough decision here. And in terms of the vote that we're going to take,
Yeah.
I guess I'd like to hear from Sue, since she is, overseeing the curriculum in the whole district. If you were in our position right now, Sue, and I hate to put you on the spot, but would you wait and see if you had another 40 more so that you could complete the purchase of the elementary curriculum? Or would you spend what we have now, knowing that we probably won't be able to do anything in this fiscal year?
I
for the
would,
science curriculum?
if it were me, I would buy the math at the high school, and I would wait a few more weeks to see how the budget shakes out, and look at implementing science in the elementary school in A grade level, 2 grade levels, however we could start getting it in there.
Yeah,
I think that's what I would do.
That makes the most sense to
Okay.
me as well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Are there any other comments before
I
we?
have a second. I need a second.
Okay, we need a second on the motion. On the motion Liz made for the science curriculum.
was it?
I'm sorry, for the geometry curriculum. My apologies.
I'll second,
Do, okay,
if you don't have one.
thank you, Michelle.
And we go to discussion. Can I ask, do I need to vote on this? Do we have, because we only have a quorum between the four of us,
Michelle's
Michelle's
here.
here.
towards a vote, just
Towards
not a
vote,
quorum?
yeah.
Okay. The part that I'm grappling with is that I wasn't here for the presentation on math, and I take your word for it, but ideally, I have so many more questions about it that I can't have answered, so if I don't need to vote, I would rather abstain from this one.
I think it's perfectly understandable for you to abstain from this vote, given that you weren't here to gather that information prior to this meeting, other than the information we have before us. Does anyone else have any comments before we vote? Okay. Roll call vote.
Russell Dupre, aye.
Michelle Grotzky, aye.
Jessica Hutchins, aye.
Liz, aye.
Stephanie abstained.
Okay.
Can I just add one more thing to about
Yep.
this? I think the other reason for that approach is I do want to have teachers know up front we're funding something and have them do PD in the year before we implement. So with the science, when this does come up again, that is going to be one of the things that I think we need to talk more about. Because they don't have to come in the summer for the PD. So
No, but just so you
That's-
know, we have a slew of teachers who have signed up to do summer PD in it, just to get the units ready to go so that they can do
For
lesson
science.
study.
For FOSS?
For fall, for FOSS, yeah. So-
the issue is not everybody will, though.
No, the whole school, it's a team of folks who will get stuff ready and running and be ready to do PD for their colleagues when school starts.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just,
so-
that's not I guess all I'm saying is that's not preferable, because a lot of schools, you budget 200 for curriculum, you do the PD in the year before at least, and then you roll it out the next year. I know we're not doing that, but I don't really like the way we
We'd
do
have
it
to vote
now,
on curriculum
obviously.
before June if that was gonna work.
Well, I
Yeah.
think that may be
Well, that's what I wanna
the
do.
process,
Yeah.
is where we vote
Sweet.
for this
Right.
earlier in the year.
Right. Okay, so Tom, are you all set with your portion?
I am, thank you.
Your portion took a lot longer than you
I
promised.
apologize, I did say it'd be 20 minutes, and
Usually.
That
Oh,
wasn't
well-
your
that is,
fault.
yeah,
Well,
thank
we
you.
do have the summer warrant schedule that also relates to you, Mr. Mazza.
Yes, that is true. Again, in order to be able to process our payments to vendors, school committee does need to meet. There are 4 dates or weeks that are listed. We are going to drop off the Monday, the August 22nd, or Tuesday, the 23rd, and just back that up to the following week when there is a normal school committee meeting already scheduled.
The first week of September.
Yeah, it was the last week in August, I think, initially, the 29th or 1st of September, or 30th of August, or whenever that week. There was supposed to be a
29.
meeting. So the vendor, it'll be a 3-week gap between those, which is not uncommon. It happens throughout the course of the year. So I was hoping to get a commitment for a quorum on the 3 weeks, July 11th or 12th, July 25th or 26th, and August 8th or 9th, to come in for a formal meeting to authorize the accounts payable warrants.
Okay, so we have July 11th or 12th, July 25th or 26th, and August 8th and 9th?
Yes, either of those,
All 3 of those?
Yeah,
So we'll
either
have,
Monday or
as of
Tuesday.
now, we have 3.
3 dates, yes.
So I am out on medical leave that week of the 11th, so I will not be here. But I can attend the other 2 dates. Does anybody else have their calendars for those 3 meetings, Liz?
I am good the 11th, the 12th, or the 11th, the 25th. I can't do around 11 o'clock the 26th, but after or before, and okay, August 8th and 9th.
So you're okay for, what was the thing you said about the 25th?
Okay, 25th.
What was the?
26th, not around 11.
Okay.
What time are we looking at for these?
Whenever.
What time do you usually do them?
thought we did 10.
10 a.m. I gave the individual an opportunity to come in before to review the warrants,
Right.
and then the school committee met. And they usually were relatively quick meetings.
Right. This is kind of hard without Michael and John here to.
It
weigh
is
in.
really hard, and it is something we can do via email with scheduling, in terms of the open meeting law, so it might be easier just to do it that way.
I'm fine with that.
I'm good with those dates, so.
You're good with those dates? Okay. Russ?
I can do all of them except for August 23rd and July 26th.
So August 23rd is off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the one I'm going to back it up to the following week.
Oh,
So you can
okay.
do the 11th, 25.
So why don't we pick one day?
The 8th and
either,
Sure.
Pick one. and
Monday
then
or
we'll-
Tuesday.
Yeah, so I can tentatively post them, and then we can always switch it if we find out that we're
You're
not
gonna
getting
need to
enough
pick.
time.
That week. The 11th or 12th.
I can do either one.
Does anyone have a preference about Monday or Tuesday?
I just can't be here Tuesday, so.
So you want to do Monday, July 11th?
Mm-hmm. And then you want to do the 25th?
That was me.
That's fine.
What time on the 11th, do we know?
So
10.
10 o'clock,
And then August,
and then the 25th at 10.
I can do either the 8th or the 9th.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so we have July 11th at 10, and what date are we looking at now?
July 11th and July 25th. And then August 8th or 9th.
Why don't we keep it for 10? I'm just going to throw up Monday at 10 on the 8th, and why don't we just do that for right now?
And after we pull Michael and
Yeah.
John, we'll know for sure whether we have a quorum. So
Right.
done.
Right.
I'm just waiting for one other person for the 25th and 8th, and 2 people for the 11th, right? Is that true?
I'm good for all those.
Here.
Oh, you were good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to push you, but I have a prior commitment that I have to leave.
I
in
know
15
you
minutes,
do.
so-
Yeah, so we can
We could.
finish up. Yep. Okay. So let's go on to the school committee assignments. I'm gonna. We only have a partial committee here tonight.
Do we have to do it tonight, or can we put it till everyone's here?
It might be better. It's a little bit difficult to do it with. I think it would be at least helpful for starters for everybody to say what they're interested in and what their time availability is.
Okay. I think we could vote also on the collaborative.
Do you and John want to do that again?
I know John doesn't, I do.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Liz.
And I know that Michael said he can't, so that means one of us. Or one of you.
So you would do the Board of Directors and the Board of Governors?
No, I would only do the Board of Governors. Before, I'm sorry, I said I was director, but it was a governor. I couldn't remember which one it was.
Oh, only the Board of Governors? You said only the Board of Governors?
Yes.
Okay. So, let's just run down the school committee subcommittees as they stand currently. It looks like we have a finance subcommittee, which is fairly straightforward. We have an operations subcommittee. Liz, can you talk to the operations subcommittee whether it's still going to be active, whether you want to keep it active?
Yeah, I would like to still be on that. I would like to do more this year. And in collaboration with another committee that we have, is called the Energy Task Force Committee with the Select Board.
Right.
So And we just look at ways to get grants, ways to make sure that we're following our green policies. We try to look into any way to save money for the schools and the town to, and in an energy efficient way for both. So that's what we do. And the transportation was really the busing portion of it, which had been taken care of a year ago. So it's really been fine sailing. Nothing's really happening with that.
Okay.
Can that come off?
I don't know. Do you want it to?
Well, I think it
Anticipate
should
anything?
stay there just in case.
Okay.
It doesn't necessarily mean we'll ever discuss it under the operations subcommittee, but if there were issues regarding routes or
Okay.
concerns, we would go through operations sub.
Thank you.
So the question is, who else wants to be on that subcommittee? It was Kim King, you, and Russ.
Can I ask you a question about,
Mhm.
so the other group that we have with the town, is that you and Kim King? Is that who was on it before?
It was. So I was going
Okay.
to talk about that too. So since it's not a committee, it's a task force, it works differently. So in the task force, we decided that we would have 2 school committee members on it, 2 select board members on it, people from the public. And we asked someone from the recycling commission, the town planning commission, and so far, nobody wants to come to our committee from those
But
other
those are
groups.
still posted, right? They're still posting the meetings
Yes.
and everything? Okay.
So right now, we only have myself as the school committee member, so we need another one. And the select board, nobody else wants to take that spot, but Marie Angelides is on it. We do have 2 town members on it.
Could we have just that group and not do a school committee, subcommittee for energy? I mean, is there a reason we need both?
Well, the only thing is that.
That's why I was wondering if you could be a rep versus a
Right.
committee.
We're kind of focusing on town-wide initiatives, like street lamps and things like that, which the school committee really doesn't deal with.
Right.
And that's why I would kind of want to keep, because some of our green policies, the recycling in schools and things like that, the energy task force really doesn't have anything to do with being green in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I would recommend keeping them separate.
Based on the amount of work, do we really need 3 people on it? I mean, I know you're
Probably not.
very interested in
Yeah,
it, so.
probably not, but I don't
it
know
might
if
be-
that has to do a quorum or something like that. Is that why there's 3 people?
I don't know. I was looking over the list, and there's no requirement to have 3 people on a subcommittee. So we don't need to have 3 people on subcommittees.
Okay.
And I guess it's just a question of whether there's anyone else who's interested in being on that.
Right.
We would still, I really value what you're doing in terms of representing the school committee on those issues. I think it's important. It's just a question of whether it would be you as more of a liaison or whether it would be you as a subcommittee.
Right.
So
That's fine. If nobody else wants to be on it, I'll have no problem being on it by myself.
okay, we'll have to start there, since unless Stephanie and Russ are volunteering right now, we'll start there, and then in the fall, if somebody else, if Michael's interested or John is interested
Mhm.
in joining as well. Is that
Yeah, that's
okay?
I mean, I'm interested in it. The problem is just the time management. I'm just not sure I can do all of them, but let's see how it shakes out, I guess.
Okay.
Also, for the energy task force, I think as a school committee, we need to recommend one of the town members to be on it, and I don't know how we do that officially, but maybe at our next meeting, if we could do that and if we can just appoint him on the task force.
Okay.
Because he's been working, David Miller, he's been working with us for the past couple months, but I don't know how to officially do it, so.
Okay. So in the interest of you needing to leave in a few minutes, are there any other committees that you, Liz, are interested in being on? It looks like we're not, there are a lot that aren't going to exist anymore. at
Okay.
least for now.
Right.
So, the school building committee, the collective bargaining committee, the capital planning committee, the naming committee.
Right. I would be interested in doing the operations sub, staying at the Board of Governors, and being a school representative.
And
I have
you're-
some things going on, and I need to take a step back.
You're at Center School, okay. Stephanie, do you feel comfortable being the SEAL rep?
Yeah, I think I've got to see how that works. There's a list from the State Ethics Commission of things I have to look at as to how to make sure to separate myself.
Okay. If you could look into that, that would be great.
Yes, I'm
'Cause I
going
sort
to
of have you-
because I also need, I'm interested in the LPVC, and I have to see if there's a conflict there.
So I'm gonna so which one, the directors or
Well,
governors?
Liz is on governor, so it'd be directors.
Okay, and you had an alternate though, Liz, last
Yeah.
year. Do you need that?
Yeah, we could do
We'll
that.
swap
We could be
it.
alternates for each other.
That's perfect.
But I've got to
Thank
check
you.
on that.
Yeah,
the
that's
results
fine.
require a vote.
Yes, I know,
Those
we're
two.
not voting today, though, are we just kind of taking note of who's interested? Because I need to check on it.
It depends when the meetings start. Diane, do they start in the fall? Oh, it's right here.
Yeah, I can't remember if we have another meeting.
Oh, yeah, it's right here.
August 24th.
Well, yeah, so we have to sign warrants for them, so I think we do need to vote it.
And the 24th, I'm not here.
And the next one is the week of the 4th, so.
I mean, you all can, even though I'm not gonna be here, you can vote at the next meeting on this.
Why don't we just vote
Warrants.
tonight, and then if you can't do it, you'll have to
That's
tell us.
perfect.
And I won't be there the 24th anyway, so it would be,
Okay.
But Liz would just be the alternate then.
or do you need that for the warrant? Do you, I don't know how it works, honestly.
What day did you say?
So I don't know, the board meeting, is that for the governors or is that directors?
The one on this, I believe, is for the one that I've been going to.
The
The governor, so I don't know the schedule of the other one.
Right. If you just vote to have me appointed as the Board of Governors, then we could wait for yours.
Just wait, yeah.
Or we could vote her and, I don't know.
I would rather wait. Because I also need to see the schedule.
Because I don't think John signed warrants.
Not
Okay.
since you've been doing it.
Right, so,
Okay.
so,
I'll look into it and then see if I can get a schedule too, to make sure.
But we're gonna make a motion tonight.
right.
Okay.
So I move
To
the
do
school.
Liz.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, thanks, Liz.
So sorry. I move the school committee appoint Liz Bone as the school committee representative at the Lower Pioneer Valley Educational Collaborative Board of Directors, and to be determined as the alternate.
Governors, right?
Sorry, governors.
Can we do both together?
I don't know why it says that.
Can we consolidate the motion?
Yeah. let
This
me-
is the
What?
way they set it up. So
Okay.
I don't know if
Okay,
it can be done any way.
that's fine.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Russell Dupre, aye.
Michelle?
Michelle Grotzky, aye.
Jessica Hutchins, aye.
Liz, aye.
Stephanie Jasmine, aye.
Okay. And Liz, would you mind making the second motion?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even see that underneath. So,
Yeah.
so
It's
maybe
right
that I
under-
shouldn't have had that one. I should have been the Board of Governors.
We changed it.
Yeah.
You did? Oh, okay, all right. So I'll say the Board of Governors this time, Board of Directors this time.
Okay.
All right, I move the school committee appoint to be determined, right? Or should I say Stephanie's name?
Stephanie, yeah.
All right.
Or, wait, what?
Right now, we're gonna appoint you, and then if there's an issue, we'll have to revisit the vote.
Can we
That's not
just-
what you wanna
no.
do?
Can we just wait? I need to see the schedule. I'm not, yeah, I don't have a schedule and I need to make sure conflict of interest, so it would just be better if I,
Okay.
especially the first conflict, I'd
Okay.
rather wait.
So, the question is when we need to vote on that.
Do they have to have someone on there?
All right, we'll wait. We can wait.
Okay, yeah, we'll just wait, that's fine. Okay, see what she's waiting on. I don't know if Michael's still interested in legislative. Do you have any sense about that, Liz?
Probably, because he's really involved and knows what's going on. Pays
So he's
attention.
giving updates, legislative updates.
No, I meant
At the committee meetings.
he knows
Yeah.
legislative information, so he probably would want to keep doing that.
And he gives updates at the committee meetings.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you said give up.
No, give updates.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, that's excellent. So hopefully he's still willing to do that. Food services. I know, Michelle, you had an interest in food services. Is that still true?
Yes, I can keep doing that.
Is everybody comfortable with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Middle school working group. So currently we have Michelle, Russ, and John.
I would still like to do that.
I would be willing to do that as well.
Okay. And is anybody else interested who's here tonight in being in the middle school working group? Otherwise, we'll keep it as 2 for now. And John did not indicate to me whether or not he still wanted to be on that subcommittee. So I will ask him. But for now, otherwise, we'll keep it with Michelle and Russ.
Yeah, if you could tell him I would like him to continue to, because I thought he was a good
You should contact him.
source.
Yeah.
Will you contact
I did
him?
know that
Yeah.
as well.
Okay.
I think it would be great.
Oh, good. Okay, that would be great. Okay, thanks, Liz.
Okay, I'm gonna go.
Okay, thank
Here
you.
are the warrants.
We don't have a quorum then.
Oh, okay. Well,
So
we're almost
what-
done.
Can we vote warrants and then?
All right.
just-
Yep, that's
And
fine.
then the meeting
Yeah,
has
that's
to
fine.
adjourn.
Yep.
Yes.
Hold on. I just put my agenda there. Okay. Let's see. I move the school committee approve the warrant batch number 2200 of the school lunch fund FY17 dated July 1st, 2016 in the amount of $800.
Second. Russell Dupre, aye.
Michelle Grotzky, aye.
Jess Hutchins, aye.
Liz, aye.
Stephanie, aye.
Okay.
Okay, next. I move the school committee approve the warrant batch number 3236 from the general fund FY17 dated July 1st, 2016 in the amount of $70,097.66.
Second. Russell Dupre, aye.
Michelle Grotzky, aye.
Jess Hutchins, aye.
Stephanie Jasmine,
Oh, Liz,
aye.
aye.
Liz, yeah.
Sorry. All right, I move the school committee approve the warrant batch number 3231 of the general fund FY16 dated June 29th, 2016 in the amount of $359,031.65.
Roll call. Second. Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Russell Dupre, aye.
Michelle Grotzky, aye.
Jess Hutchins, aye.
Liz, aye.
Stephanie Jasmine, aye.
And lastly, I move the school committee approve the warrant batch number 2200 of the school lunch fund FY16 dated June 29, 2016 in the amount of $83,014.46.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Russell Dupre, aye.
Michelle Grotzky, aye.
Jess Hutchins, aye.
Liz Bone, aye.
Stephanie Jasmine, aye.
You wouldn't move to adjourn then. You have to. You don't have a quorum, the meeting ends.
Sorry. Okay.
What were you going to talk about?
We just needed to finish the finance subcommittee and the policy subcommittee, and that's all. And then we're done.
Okay, can we?
Yeah. So, policy subcommittee. I'm willing to serve on the policy subcommittee. Michelle? You're willing?
So I'm interested in being on either policy or finance. I just don't know if I can balance both.
Okay. Anyone else interested in policy?
I do policy.
Anyone else interested in policy? We don't have to have 3, remember? But if there's anyone else interested, please tell me. And I guess if we needed to, no, we couldn't have.
We can check with Michael and Fitz to see, because Michael was on last time, too.
Okay, so far I have me, Michelle, Stephanie, and then we have a question about Michael and Russ. Michael, sorry. Finance Subcommittee is the last one. I know John wants to stay on. Sorry, Michelle. John Fitzgerald indicated that he would like to stay on Finance Subcommittee this year.
How many people can be on that?
3 max.
It sounds like we have a lot, because that's something I really wanted to be on as well.
So if Michelle was on Policy Subcommittee, then you could be on Finance Subcommittee. Does that work for everybody? Michelle?
Who is that, Stephanie?
Yeah.
So who else volunteered? Or, I mean, do we have 3 or?
I only know that John said he wanted to be on.
We have John, and we have you and Stephanie, and then
What time are these meetings?
Tom.
Well, we've historically held them at 2 o'clock, but I think there's some flexibility in that, although John does prefer the afternoon than morning.
2 would be
He wants after
tough, I guess.
11.
Yeah.
After 11.
Yes, after 11, he's good.
Okay. I would also just like to add that I really would prefer not to pick up a committee that needs to meet at night. So I know finance usually meets during the day. If whoever is on policy, if one of them needs to meet only at night, it would be hard for me.
Right. I need day 2.
You need.
Day.
So I'm trying
Yeah,
to
I'm
avoid
day 2.
nighttime subcommittees.
So your day, Jess.
I'm day, yeah.
But 2
So-
o'clock is tough, but John said anytime after 11. Is that right?
Russ, are you day?
Yeah, I can do like around lunch.
For
Oh.
the
It'd be-
finance, usually it was like an hour, so you pick, or people would be able to pick up their kids.
Oh, they would be. Although I have a 2 o'clock pickup.
I mean, if we did finance around like noon.
That would be a great time for me. That's
Yeah. So I think, Michelle, you and Stephanie need to decide who's going to be on policy and who's going to be on finance.
okay. Do we need to decide tonight or?
I think we should try if it's possible,
Do we want to?
because we're not going to have a lot of opportunity to discuss it before the fall. Unless,
So if I were to choose one or the other, I would choose finance. But again, the thing that really is a big deal to me is having to meet at night. So if one of those committees has somebody on it that needs to meet at night, it sounds like finance does not, but we're not sure who would be on policy. Michael is on it, he's going to need to meet at night. And so in that case, I really wouldn't want to do it.
But I can't meet at night.
no, I can't meet at night either, so,
Well, right now, it's Jess and Stephanie and Michelle, so.
right.
Well, it sounds like
we can't
finance would
have
be
a
Fitz,
4th
Stephanie,
person,
Michelle.
so.
Well, I just haven't asked Michael, though, either, so I need to know so I can make the formal assignments who wants to do it. But I don't want to assign Michelle and Stephanie unless I know which one they want to do.
Well,
I don't mean to put you on the spot. I mean, maybe we can just,
I think it comes up, I think maybe, I don't know if it's I think that the problem with finance sub is so much was covered under finance sub, and I think people feel like more should have been covered here, and that's why more people want to be on finance sub. So I don't know if that's something that should be addressed in a different way.
I think we will do more this year at our level, probably.
that was my thought exactly. And that is why I've been thinking about the finance subcommittee. And Diane, can I just ask you, do you know if we have always had a finance subcommittee for as long as you can remember?
Yeah. As long as I've been
I
on.
think you need one, really.
Someone has to sign
How-
warrants.
how often
come
do
in,
they
sign
meet?
warrants.
Every 2 weeks.
What about budget season?
We meet twice a week, a month, you
Little
know,
more.
Yeah.
maybe even more.
Yeah,
It's a
they-
big commitment.
Yeah, they've been meeting as long as I've known about this.
And there
So-
will be summer meetings. We will have to meet at least once during the summer at some point.
I'm sorry.
So,
I mean,
potential.
I'll do it if, I would do finance if it's like noon, I can do that too.
All right, well, why don't we just start, if Stephanie and Michelle, if you're feeling unsure, we'll just keep Russ and John on finance for right now. and me and so far it's just me and possibly Michael on policy, so.
Well, I'll do policy with you.
Okay, so me and Stephanie on policy. And that's fine, we can keep it at 2 for right now, there's no problem with that.
Well, that would leave Michelle on finance then. Right?
That would leave Michelle the opportunity to choose finance or policy.
Well, right now you have Stephanie, you, and Michael for policy.
Well, I just have a question mark next to Michael.
Oh.
Okay, so, are you looking for me to choose which one tonight, Jeff?
No, you don't have to, it's fine. I think we have enough people that you can decide, as long as we have 2 people on finance subcommittee. Tom, are you comfortable with that tonight?
Sure.
Okay. And then we can figure that out. It's not a big
Okay,
deal.
so that,
Yeah.
I mean, I would say I would take the finance stuff.
I mean, that's the one you said you preferred.
It is.
That's sort of what it sounded like you were leaning towards. And since it's going to be during
I
the...
would prefer that, it's a little bit more, it's something I've been interested in getting into, so,
Okay, you're sold.
that I haven't been. Okay.
You're on. Congratulations to everybody.
Thank you.
All right, so I think we need a motion to adjourn. I think that's the end. Does anyone
To adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Second.
Adjourn.
Russell
call.
Dupre, aye.
Michelle Grotzky, aye.
Jess Hutchins, aye.
Liz, aye.
Stephanie Jasmine, aye.
Oh, 9. My goal was 8. I mean, hardcore 8, Liz. I'm telling you.
Okay.
It's good, Liz, you gotta put that
Thank-
deadline.
I know.
Liz, can you do that? Can you do that every meeting?
Yeah.
It's actually really good.
Thank you.
It's like having a